At 10 a.m. on January 24th, 1966, Nancy Beaumont kissed her 3 kids goodbye as they boarded the bus for the day. 9-year-old Jane was viewed by 1960 standards old enough to care for her young siblings, Grant 7 and Arna 4, for a day trip to the beach. Now, the 3 kids made this trip many times before, but this day was different. The children were expected back by 2 p.m., however, that time came and went with no sign of them. At 8:30 p.m., Nancy's husband, Jim, called the police. What followed was one of the biggest manhunts Australia had ever seen. Due to the current status of this case being unsolved, I'm going to inform you about what happened that fateful day. As a human and as an activist for unsolved cases, it's my duty to bring attention and awareness to these cases and find the victims justice. Cases like these tend to go unnoticed and unsolved all the time because it doesn't get the manpower to solve it. To make sure that they don't go forgotten even after all these years. My interest is in these cases has sparked a passion in me, and it is a story I can't get out of my head. First, we'll be looking at the day the Beaumont children had leading up to the disappearance and the investigation. Finally, I want to discuss a couple different suspects connected to this case, and I want to begin by taking a look at the Beaumont children's day leading up to their disappearance. At 10 a.m., they got on the bus, like we discussed. From 10:15 to 11, they're seen getting off the bus and swimming. At around 11, a witness says they saw a man watching the children, but not just watching, playing. The man was playing with the children, who is drawn here. At 12 p.m., they buy some things at the deli with a pound, which would be considered $20 in today's currency, which is strange because Nancy can only remember giving the children coins for lunch. Now, I want to move on to the disappearance and the investigation. The police thought it might have been someone that the children knew, since they felt comfortable enough to play and spend the day with man. The last known sighting of the children was 3 p.m. when they were seen by a postman who knew them well, walking up from the main road in the general direction of their home. They were holding hands and smiling. They were also alone. They never made it back home. For years, Jim and Nancy remained in their Somerton Park house in case their children ever tried to return to them. Police find themselves in a continuous stretch of embarrassment as they start taking advice from a local psychic, desperate. But this only leads the family to false hope, and all of his information proves to be a hoax. As sick as it is, con artists often prey on grieving families because they know that vulnerable people are willing to pay and do anything and everything for answers. As various new leads and theories emerged over the years, the Beaumonts cooperated in exploring every possibility, even though each one led to nothing. The case again made headlines in 2013 and again in 2018 when sections of an Adelaide factory was dug up by police. After claims the children had been buried there under concrete. Both times exploration failed to find any new evidence. Next, we'll discuss a couple of suspects connected to this case. Harry Phelps died in 2004. A local factory owner came to the attention of police as a possible suspect after the publication of the book The Sandman, Uncovering the Mysteries of the Missing Beaumont Children in 2013. Phelps was wealthy and known to be in the habit of giving out £1 notes. Was later alleged to have pedophile tendencies and lived only 300 meters away from the Glenage Beach. In 2007, Philip's son, Hayden, who was 15 at the time of the disappearance, came forward to researches with the claim that he had seen the children in his father's yard that day. Next, Bevan Spencer Von Emhem was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1984 for murdering 15-year-old Richard Cliven, son of Adelaide's newsreader Rob Cliven. During the investigation into Von Emhem, police heard from an informant identified only as Mr. B. He, in an alleged related conversation from a beach boasted having taken the 3 children from a beach several years earlier, and said he had taken them from home to conduct experiments. In conclusion, I've covered the case of the missing Beaumont children, and together we've briefly walked through the day the children had, discussed the investigation, and identified a few suspects. I hope that hearing the story sticks with you and inspires you to advocate for cold cases and missing people. Their cases won't be solved if people aren't talking about them, if people like you and I keep making cases like these a priority to police.